Anthony McCary, we are back in our home studios. I miss seeing you in person. I miss being on the road.
I miss you, my friend.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
How are you?
Hey, everybody. Welcome, Anthony. Great to see you, my friend.
Well, I tell you something. We saw 3 amazing hotels in the last couple of days. The Riggs Hotel, Zena Hotel, and Live. Yep. And just 3 completely different feels. And it was a really good road trip, and it was a lot of fun. And you did a great job.
Yeah, it absolutely was. It was so much fun getting back there out on Thank you. It was so much fun getting back there on the road. It was really a pleasure. So much fun seeing all of these great hotels out there. But Anthony, before we get started, I wanted to let everybody know, hey, have a happy Diwali if you're celebrating that holiday. I know we're right in the beginning of the 5-day celebration of Diwali. So have a great holiday. I'll be sitting around jealous that it's not my holiday, but enjoy yours out there as well. Also, yeah. What's that, Anthony?
You can take it on as your holiday if you'd like.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I like holidays. Also, let's talk a little bit about where I am today. I want to thank one of our viewers for sending in this great picture of the Hotel Vandevort in Springfield, Missouri. The only 4-diamond hotel in all of Springfield, Missouri. It looks like an absolutely beautiful property.
Do you want to know something interesting about Springfield, Missouri?
I do.
Springfield, Missouri is where John Gotti was jailed during his tenure. My friend was a guard at that jail, and he had just taken over when John Gotti was no longer there. So just interesting. I spent 5 years in Missouri. Springfield is a great, great, great place. Outside of the maximum security jail they have.
Yeah, that's too funny. All right, today we're going to be focused on revenue management and all of the nuances that are involved in that. But before we get into today's show, it is really important to remind everybody that tomorrow at 2 p.m. we've got an all-new show, a very special show with Dr. Osterholm. He's one of the foremost infectious disease specialists in the United States. We had him on before, earlier during the COVID crisis, to share what was going on, and now we're having him back again. Lots is changing right now. We're seeing the numbers spiking out there, Anthony. And Dr. Osterholm has just been appointed to President-elect Biden's task force on COVID. So we're going to have lots of really great information, although I don't think we're going to be able to talk to him about the nuances of being selected for the task force.
I will tell you that you watch your local news because you're going to start seeing a lot of him. You're already seeing an article that just was released yesterday of him, kind of what his suggestions are. And some of them in some walks of the world are going to be controversial. So you're going to see a lot of him. And we had him on our show. Joe Rogan had him on his show, and we're going to have him back on our show again. So he is a very important person. And we're going to just talk about the science of what's going on, and we're going to leave the politics behind us.
You know what's really funny is Osterholm has been featured in amazing places like Meet the Press and all of the other major news shows, but Joe Rogan has probably got a much bigger audience than all of them combined at this point, right?
Not only he's got a bigger audience, he's got more influence, and I'll tell you why he's got more influence. Mm-hmm. Kind of like how we built this show in the travel and hospitality industry. It's long form. You have an hour to ask questions. We have one guest or 2 guests, and we can ask anything we want. It's completely unscripted and it's authentic. So that's what people are jonesing for, this long form content, believe it or not. When people say, well, TikTok is taking over the world, it has. But when you really want real information, this is the way people want it. So yeah, the reason he has so much influence is because the doctor had 3 hours to talk.
Right. That's absolutely right. And Anthony, I got to tell you, that's a cool thing about where we're headed to with technology and society. We've gone in 2 directions: small little bits of content, or really super long form, in-depth conversations. I feel like we're striking somewhere in the middle by bringing in our shows at almost an hour every day, but it's such a great opportunity for all of us to learn together. And today, Anthony, I want to learn a little bit more about revenue management.
Okay, so let's
wait. Hold on, we got a question. Let's just clarify things. live tomorrow at 2 p.m. You will all be able to ask your questions live with Dr. Osterholm at 2 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. All right, let's get into
everyone in advance to make it about science and your questions about COVID. Please do not make it political because we will delete you.
Right. We have no interest in politics. We have interest in the health and well-being of human beings and the hospitality industry. So let's get on with that. Bring in our guest today, the CEO of Duetto, Mr. David Woolenberg, and back to the show by popular demand, Mr. Chris Green, CEO of Chesapeake Hospitality. Chris, I got to tell you, people have been saying, where's Chris? Where's Chris? What's going on with Chris? We have to keep reminding them that you're a busy CEO and you're getting out there, and we're just blessed to have you now every single Thursday when you can make it.
I'm super glad to be back. Thanks for having me. And yeah, things are, listen, it's a crazy time, but we're actually busy. We've been really busy, got some big news coming out today. So
well, let me give you the big news. So you don't have to say it. You've got brand new revenue management service, Rev Advantage, that's being delivered today live. And David Woolenberg, CEO of Duetto, great to see you as well. Also focused on revenue strategy and management. So this is a perfect pairing of guests for us today, Anthony, being able to really focus on the issue that we're all thinking about most, how to make more money from the guests that we have.
So David, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me, and thank you for continuing to do this great show. It's a great service to our industry. And really appreciate you spending the time with me today and inviting me on.
Well, it's a pleasure. Before we get to Chris and ask about what he's going to roll out, talk a little bit about your background, a little bit about your company, and then I have probably 6,000 questions.
Okay. So Duetto is commonly known in the industry as a revenue management system. We call it a revenue strategy platform. And, the biggest thing that we focus on is providing customers with the power and control to maximize revenue and gain operational efficiencies with their revenue strategy. So we are a cloud-based system. We have created what we believe is the most user-friendly platform in the industry. So it's one thing that you guys know that there's a lot of complexity around hotels. There's a tremendous amount of technology that is surrounding the hotel. Our system really integrates to the PMS, the CRS, and the different systems involved, and really helps our customers make sense of the data. And we really break it down in kind of three areas. Smart in terms of how we add value for our customers, smart, agile, and efficient. So in terms of smart, it means using the right data, the right methodologies, algorithms to quickly and accurately adjust strategy, especially in this dynamic environment. Efficient, meaning revenue managers need more control of their systems than an on and off black box for automation. So our system really gives our customers the flexibility to employ multiple strategies very easily and scale them across their enterprise. And then efficient, which is, revenue managers need more control over their systems overall. Our business was really built with a combination of hospitality professionals, revenue management professionals, as well as Silicon Valley's best engineering talent. And we really pride ourselves on the fact that we can integrate to the disparate systems that are around the hotel, really make sense of that data. Our customers really benefit from the fact that our delivery organization, when a hotel is making a decision to put a system in place like this, we recently launched a client in 4 weeks after signing a contract with us. So we understand the need to get a system like this in place to really drive revenue and profitability for the hotel. And all of this is really centered on a philosophy that I think you guys discussed when Marco and Patrick were on, which is around open pricing, which is very unique to Duetto. And open pricing essentially means that you're able to independently yield by segment, by channel, and by room type. And so a good example of this is when you put a promotion out there, instead of closing out that promotion, the ability to flex that promotion up and down depending on demand is really a key element of our system. So
if I can interrupt real quick. So
yeah,
you look at the 2008 what happened in 2008 and everything went crazy and everybody was a race to the bottom. And we were sophisticated, but we weren't as sophisticated as we are today. The system weren't as sophisticated as they are today. We learned a lot. How is your system, and Chris, if you can follow up with how your system is going to do it as well, how is your system giving better technology so we don't have that race to the bottom? We do have better information so we don't go back to 2008 where we basically destroyed our own industry because we didn't really have the resources.
Yeah. Chris, you want to go first or you want me to answer first?
Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
Yeah. So actually, it's a great question. And I think you guys know this, but Duetto has been around for about 9 years now. So we really came out of that time. And one of the important things that I mentioned is, the ability to capitalize on dynamic changes in demand. So employing a single strategy or just turning something on and off is really hard. And even now, if you compare what's going on now, there's some similarities. Only being able to look at same time last year is not going to really help you that much in this environment. So you need to be able to look back to shorter time periods and be able to plan a strategy, plan your forecast, plan your different kind of promotions that you're doing around what's going on in a shorter term time frame. And I think that's really, really important. But I agree, it's not just automation, right? It's not just an algorithm that you turn on. You need to be able to have more than one strategy, depending on segment, depending on channel. And so I think that's what's really important. That's really a key element of our value proposition.
So, Chris, before you answer that question, why was it so important for you to roll out a new system, and why now? And what are the big positives for your system going forward?
So thanks, Anthony. So first, I want to say David and his company do a really great job at what they do, and what we're bringing to the marketplace today with Rev Advantage by Chesapeake is completely different. This is a high-touch, personnel-based, granular focus on distressed property performance and revenue management field. Where we're different is we leverage a bunch of different technology pieces that are proprietary to Chesapeake, but we put those together with highly trained, on-the-ground revenue management teams that work in and around the hotel on a daily basis with the team that are trained by Chesapeake. So we've been a manager for 63 years, and all I've ever done is distress. So distress doesn't surprise me, but there are tactics and techniques to get you out of distress that we believe, and like I said, I love David's company and his offering, but we believe that you've got to have a real live person engaging with from a professional organization to help move companies forward. And we're talking about hotels that are independently owned or operated that don't have somebody that sits in this seat that can't move them forward. And the big changes that can be made by knowing and doing exactly what David said, through hands-on or technology like David's company's doing it. But we felt, Anthony, that the time is, listen, everybody's hurting. And if we can help right now, hey, listen, this is not going to be a big business line for Chesapeake. This is a way for us to help other owners push out, because what happens if we help other owners push out of this? We all rise together. And that's what needs to happen so we don't kill our industry.
So that's a really important question or really important statement. And I want to kind of ask a follow-up question. When I'm running hotels, I override the systems a lot. And in the beginning, like I haven't run a hotel, day to day in a few years. But I know technology has changed. So, David, how does the system interact with the human element? I'll give you an example. One of the things, we would sit around and we'd look at a report and go, why are we 90% today, but last year we were 60%? Wow, we're smart. And so, there was a snowstorm. And the system didn't plug in. There was a snowstorm, right? So we thought we were the smartest people in the world. So how does the human element and the technology come together in your system?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I completely agree with Chris. And one of the things that may be missed in my message is that the human element is never going to go away. So a system is really, the technology is really important, but you have to create a system that allows people to be their best, right? And to achieve their goals. And so our system, while we pride ourselves on having great automation, the philosophy of the company is you automate what you can, but you have the ability to interact and have more higher touch interaction with the system. So to your point, if there's something that you need to override a rate or something like that, you have the ability to do that in our system. As I said, it's not on or off. But it really, if you look at what Duetto does, and what we've designed, it's really about people, because it's built naturally around the natural workflow that a revenue manager would use every day to run their business. And it has collaboration built into it so that you can interact between the team that's working on transient versus the sales team, and being able to interact within the system, and having all that data open and available to the people that are operating the different functions of the hotel. There couldn't be more important thing than empowering people to what Duetto does. So I completely agree with the philosophy that Chris rolled out. It is about people. Our industry is about people. It's about the guests. So under no circumstances are we looking at a system that's going to complete remove the intelligence of the people that have to operate it.
I find it fascinating. You said that 9 years you've been in business. Your company seems to have taken over the world, because your company, there's a lot of systems out there, and your company is the one I hear the most about. So what was the competitive advantage that you were able to take advantage of?
And maybe you could speak to how you came out of the casino resort environment, which has traditionally been way ahead of the regular hospitality industry.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And first and foremost, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that I'm relatively new to Duetto. I've been here 2.5 years, and I get the benefit of all the great work that the team does and get to represent us here. Our founders, Marco, Patrick, and Craig, it's a great startup story, right? Marco and Patrick came out of Wynn, and the startup story is, they were dissatisfied with the tools they were seeing inside their system, and they said, we think we can do it better. So they started first on spreadsheets as a consulting company, and it was working so well, they turned it into software, and here we are, 9 years later. And I think the hallmarks of why you hear a lot about us are, one, we've also benefited from the growth of the internet, the popularity of cloud-based systems. We believe we're the most modern system out there. We are the largest standalone player out there in terms of scale. And we've really built a modern tech stack that is really accessible to the industry. And we've marketed that, right? Because everyone has technology around their hotel. A lot of people are still using spreadsheets and things like that, but accessibility, usability, the UI, and really focusing on what's my life as a revenue manager? What does my day look like? Do I want to be building spreadsheets for 8 hours a day? Or do I want to do that in 30 seconds and focus on the strategy of running a hotel? That's what's resonating with people. And our team, right? So we don't just set it and forget it. You're not going to see us just set up software and drop it off at your doorstep. We have really invested heavily in the teams to help support our customers to make them successful, building strategies, helping them apply our philosophy to their hotel to drive revenue. And I think that's probably what's resonated with the industry.
So, Chris, let me ask you then, following up on that, what is it that makes an individual a successful revenue manager? How much of it is in here, and how much of it is the programs and materials and data that's out there that they could leverage?
Well, just like anything else, right? Having actionable, smart data to make decisions on is critical. But then having the mental acuity to take that data, understand what's going on in the marketplace, what type of hotel you're operating, what the channel segments are, what kind of service the hotel delivers, and where you play in the marketplace, and turning that all into an actionable strategy, and then laying that into a system, whether it's like David's system or Chesapeake's proprietary system, to make sure that you're getting the most effective outcome and revenue stream for that hotel that drives the bottom line, right? I mean, we're an operator by trade. We just happen to have a great revenue management platform that we built internally that helps me to drive more NOI, because I get the right mix of revenue in the hotel, each hotel at the right day at the right time. And so, David's company, they do a great job. I can't tell you how many times we've talked to them. And I mean, maybe it's Chesapeake. I'm just a little bit prideful, but I like the system we built. I love their system too. It's a great system. So.
One of the things you said, and I can't agree with you more, and you said it so perfectly, how the system and humans interact. And one of the things the system's there for is to ensure that you have a person that is intuitive, because it's not so much what the system's telling you, it's what it may not be telling you that you intuitively know, and bringing that information from the software and your experience. And only you're uniquely qualified, because you know that building, you know the DNA in that building, how to take that information, how to take your instincts and what you know and bring that together. And a lot of times there's just point and shoot where it's like, okay, this is the information, let's do that. It's really critical that the person dissecting that information understands the DNA of their market, understands their competition, because how is their market going to compete? Because they're using some of the same tools you're using. So being 1 step or 2 steps or 3 steps ahead of them is critical. And you can only do that, in my opinion, through the interpretation with a human being that really understands what's going on in the market.
Well, Anthony, the thing that's often missed is whether you use David's company or my company or others, you're going to win your marketplace if you it's them. It still blows my mind how many hotel owners and operators out there think revenue management is just 99 today, 89 on Sunday. It's just not the way the world works. It hasn't worked that way.
Let me interrupt you. I think this is a question for both of you and Glenn as well, because Glenn has been, he's spoken to more people than probably all of us. So anybody wants to answer this? Why is that the case? Now, I am in the front lines of this for 10 years, having these conversations more than all of you with these individuals that I'm literally looking at going, you got to get rid of the red book. You need, at least use Excel. Why are we, unless you're a major brand or you're a Chesapeake or, of course your owners came out of Wynn, doesn't surprise me. That's why it's so great, because I think Wynn has the best people, some of the best people. Why are we, and we're not talking about 5% of the hotels. We're talking the majority of hotels are still in the dark ages when it comes to not only revenue management, technology, and the way they see things going forward. They're still worried about how many toiletry bottles are in the room as opposed to what my rate is, 6 months from now. Why are we still here in 2020?
Chris,
and while you're answering that question, why are we still talking about that we need more power outlets in rooms? I think it goes to the same issue.
Well,
right?
it is. I mean, I hate to be so blunt, but stepping over $1 to pick up a penny is the way a lot of hotels have been operated for a long time, and they still continue to be. But David or I, we could move your RevPAR $5 a night per, overall. And all of a sudden you don't worry about stepping over that dollar. You're picking up that dollar every day. And really it's about opening their eyes to what's possible. I can give you a quick analogy. We picked up a hotel, a very, an entry-level tier hotel in a tertiary market. It was just because the owner had another hotel with us. And he said, will you take this for us? Not a strong brand, not a strong location. But Chesapeake only knows how to do things one way, so we applied our big old revenue management machine on top of it, and RevPAR went up $30 in the first 2 months per month, per room, per day. It was unbelievable what was done. It was just because they weren't paying attention, and all of a sudden we were able to renovate and do new beds and do new things. And this hotel now is a growing enterprise that just wasn't what it was before because of the lack of insight and foresight. Listen, I'm appealing to everybody now. Do something, because we can't do what we're doing now and see rates falling like they are. We've got to stay strong as an organization and as an industry to make sure that we're keeping everything we earned over the last 9 years where it is, because we've got a long road to hoe. And if our rate continues to fall because of poor pricing in our competitive set, it's just going to be the same challenge we had after 2009.
So I got to ask you guys this question then, and it always goes back to it. That issue that you brought up, going down in 2009, it was really a race to the bottom. But a lot of it is because there aren't as many sophisticated hoteliers as we believe are out there. It's a lot of mom and pop organizations. I see them at the annual conferences I go to. They're not guys like you, Chris, that are very, very focused on this. They're people that are worried about feeding their family. They're people that are worried about making sure the housekeeping is clean, and they don't have the skill set in order to understand that. You combine that with the panic of, oh my God, we're losing demand in our market. Let's try to goose that demand by lowering rates. It seems to be something that you just go around and around and around with, and it's really hard to break people out of that pattern when their entire livelihood is at stake. So how do you compete, Chris, with those mom and pop businesses in a market that depend on every single penny to put food on their table when you have a completely different set of criteria from which you can even get started with thinking about revenue management?
Can I answer that before Anthony goes? Can I answer that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's our goal. Every single one of my owners, whether it's the 1,300 rooms in Atlantic City or it's 150 rooms in Louisville, Kentucky, my job is to put money and food on that owner's table. And I can tell you this, we put more food on their table than they could do doing it on their own. That's just a fact. We just have the professionals to do it. And that's what David's goal is too. So we're not here to build a enterprise that just takes. It's about giving. And you would be surprised once you do a study on the hotel and show the outcome, it's a no-brainer.
You know, also, David, I want to throw that to you as well, but I'll be remiss if I don't say this. I think one of the things we forget is when you have 10 years of growth, people get concerned about other things and not so much on the day-to-day operation, because money solves a lot of problems. So for 10 years, there's a lot of people that had experience before the last 10 years, but a lot of people grew up in the last 10 years. So there was not a lot of thinking. There was not a lot of critical thinking, I should say. And people got lazy, and people like, well, it's going to be there. Just answer the phone, keep the system on, and I'm going on vacation 6 times this year instead of, once. So I think that there's a lot of that. I think there's a lot of just people taking for granted running this business. Hotels, out of all businesses out there in the last 10 years, man, they've been difficult to run, especially if you're in a market like New York City. They're always difficult. But the money pot, a lot of times, took care of itself. So how do you work how do you work towards that and really educating people? Because I think it's an education.
Right. And David, while you're answering that, I still want to get back to how do you compete against hotels in the market that aren't even looking at revenue management from the same way?
Yeah, you guys just remind me of what I forget, because there was several questions in there. So I completely agree with Chris. I mean, just going back to the first question, actually, one of the reasons that I was so interested in this industry, I didn't come from hospitality. I come from more kind of e-commerce background. And I was at my last company for 15 years where we catered to software companies and consumer electronics companies. So hospitality is relatively new to me. And when I interviewed with Duetto a couple of years ago, I was really excited about what I saw, because so many of our customers and prospects out there don't actually use a revenue management system. So I think there's a couple of things, though. I think to your point, Anthony, 10 years of great performance or relative strength makes it now more than ever. Now is the time where you need to invest in technology, because the market is so dynamic and it's changing so much. I mean, just look at the announcements this week with Pfizer and everything that's going on. And of course, we're having obviously some spikes in what's going on with the pandemic. But the ability to react to changing demand is something that a spreadsheet is going to have a hard time competing with. So I think the biggest competition we have, I agree that we have to continue to educate the hoteliers. That's why we have invested so heavily in hospitality professionals and revenue management professionals as to why now. But the biggest thing that you're competing against with systems like ours is doing nothing. That's by far the biggest competition, and focusing on kind of methods that may or may not be effective, like using a spreadsheet, which is sitting on someone's PC that only one person can see, and maybe it gets emailed and things, it's just not an efficient way of running a hotel. And so,
I'm sorry, Chris, if you can answer this question to your point, David, and I'll let you finish that thought. David, Chris, I know you have this answer, and I want it. Why are hospitality folks, why are hotel general managers and owners the cheapest human beings I've ever met in my life? They will not.
Thank you, Chris.
David, you run into that every single day. Like we're talking about X amount of dollars to make millions. Like, why is this has been something for 33 years that I have struggled with. I can't get an owner to spend $5. Why is that? And how do you overtake that, David?
Listen, Anthony, I told you, I think you actually used this quote of mine that it wasn't mine. It was one of my great leaders that taught me when I was a very young restaurant manager. It's the mentality in our industry. If you constantly focus on costs, you'll get sales down to where you can handle them. That's stuck with me all my life, and it changed the way I lead as a leader. I've always been revenue-based, drive the top line. It's easy to flow. That's super simple, but we get taught from a very early age in hospitality, make sure you portion control, which you have to, but it's so cost-focused in F&B and in your cost of linens and your shampoos that people lose sight of the fact that, yes, if your room costs you $28 or $34 a night to occupy, total cost, cleaning and everything else, then why don't you move that top number away from that instead of trying to reduce that 34 down to 32? Move that top dollar from 100 to 115, and man, the equation gets a lot better. It's all about education. And that's, I'm sure, I think Dave would probably agree with me. We just need to continue to educate, because the ROI in investing in David's technology or joining Chesapeake's solution, I mean, I hate to give a guarantee, but I've seen it happen. It's 10 and 20 and 30 to 1 on the dollars you invest. So why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, I think I think it's very well said. And I do think, though, that in this industry, I think there is, some of this technology can be intimidating, right? And that's why we've really tried to focus on user experience and education, and really employing our professionals that come from the industry to help people understand. It's everything from, how do we think about running a revenue management meeting, and how do we think about building a forecast, and how that can change when you use technology, because it is intimidating. It can be intimidating. And so there is this education factor. And I think people will see, as we go through this, the ability to react and employ multiple strategies and test and learn is so critical. And it's so much easier to do with strong technology like what Chris has and like what we've built. It just makes the life of the revenue manager and, frankly, the asset owners much better when they have access to these tools.
All right, so Anthony, what I'd really like to be doing at this one. Hi, Chris. One of the things that I'd like to do now is maybe take a look at some of the forward-looking data that Duetto was thinking about, understand what web searches are going on and how their outlook is for the U.S. and Latin America, and how and all of that kind of stuff. So, Producer David, if you could bring some of that up, we could start to talk about it. And I do want to put up a disclaimer that I'm sure this data is rock solid, but it could change as the COVID numbers take off, and as we're entering what appears to be more of a crisis time. This might change. But David, I'm sure your data was rock solid. What are we looking at right here, and what does this mean to you?
Yeah, well, so first and foremost, we're only going to touch on a few areas. We're going to talk on North America net new bookings, LATAM net new bookings, and then some of the forward-looking data from web traffic. But later in the presentation, I included a link or a URL where people can subscribe to get all this data, and they can review it in depth. But when we look at North America and net new bookings, one of the things that jumps out, and that I think you guys have talked about a little bit on your show, is that the booking window is really shortened. We're actually seeing it now that it's shorter than it's ever been throughout the pandemic. So we're really looking at 30 days out or less, and that's pretty unique. And then if you look further out, obviously the numbers get much worse. So.
Right. David, if you could say some of those numbers, because for those of you all out there listening, some folks might be listening to our audio only version, and we'd like for them to be able to follow along as well.
Yeah. So if you look at the slide, and it's a little hard to see, so I apologize for that. But we're comparing from one pulse report to this pulse report. So that 70% number is looking at a 14-month view in terms of the change over time. So it's 70% up from the last pulse report. But that is actually lower than what we've seen in the prior pulse reports, and in cases we're seeing triple digits. And then as you go further out, December beyond, you see the numbers drop quite a bit, down, just 11%, 14%, and it gets a lot smaller as you go further out.
Right, so, David, how much of that is because of the shorter booking window? And right now, people can't really, I don't think past 2-3 weeks in their lives, right?
I think you nailed it. I think that's really it. It's that short booking window, and I think it's hard for people to plan further out. I'm hoping that with some of the news this week, people can start to think longer term, and they get visibility to some of the progress we're making on vaccines and therapeutics. I'm hoping that changes people's minds, but it's really understandable behavior. And I guess the other things I would highlight, and I think you guys have cited this before, some of the markets that are drive to, like California, Florida, and even Nevada, continue to perform relatively well. But I will say that, just as the example of Nevada, being up 4% since our last pulse report, a month ago, that number was up 50%. So we are seeing some changes. There's certainly some dynamics going on, whether it's the election or new cases popping up. There could be a number of reasons for that lower performance. The one that's also surprising is Hawaii, which kind of eased the restrictions in terms of how you can travel, but they're down from our last Pulse report.
Right, of course. So, Chris, when you're taking a look at these forward-looking numbers produced on the data here, does that look to you in terms of what we've been seeing, what you're seeing in your company as well? And maybe also explain why we shouldn't be concerned that people aren't booking rooms maybe for April or May of next year at this very moment.
I mean, you guys covered it. It's exactly what we're seeing. I mean, honestly, the pickup in the month for the month is really the only thing that has any value right now, unless we have some group that hits next spring.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, those groups that are hitting next spring are all really tentative because we've already had groups starting to move from spring to fall with the latest changes in the COVID numbers. But I think you're exactly right. I think the deal is, even me, I'm like, okay, I'm traveling to Connecticut next week. Nope, I'm not traveling because I can't go, or I'm traveling. How can we? I'm a professional traveler and I can't even figure it out. So how are we going to get people traveling until we get this all handled? Right now, it's last minute and they got to go. I think you're going to see some travel around the Thanksgiving holiday, but a lot of it is to get kids out of school. Like my daughter's in college, I got to go get her, so I'm going to have to stay at a tertiary, secondary roadside hotel that I'll stay at, which that's where we're seeing occupancy because I'm doing exactly what the rest of America is doing right now. That's the segment that's traveling. I was on a plane last week, and I mean, I'm telling you, out of 98 people that could be on the plane, I think 3 people had briefcases. Everybody else was traveling for leisure. So
I think right after the new year, there's going to be an explosion of group business.
I hope you're right.
I think you're going to see it even before the new year because this news that just came down, people are now interpreting it. You're going to start seeing press releases. You're going to start seeing right after Thanksgiving it being used for emergency cases of people that are very ill. And I think by December, January, we'll really understand where we are. And I think businesses are like, listen, we've got to save 2021 because 2020, I think we're going to go into the next 6 weeks. It's not going to be a great period because the cases keep going up. You're going to start seeing lockdowns. So I think that people are going to really feel that we've got to, 2 things. 1, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And 2, we got no choice. We got to start booking business. We've got to go out there. We cannot do 2021 the way 2021 because we will not have a business to come back to. So I think there will be an explosion of conventions and groups and positivity right after the new year. And you can mark it down on this date. I said it, Glenn.
All right. I hope you're right. We're marking it down November 12th. I would like to say, unfortunately, the good folks at HD Expo have now pushed back the 2021 event from May, where it traditionally is, until August. So I get 2 things out of that. Number 1, there may be feeling like May might be a little bit premature, but just a few months later, they're feeling really confident that everyone is going to get back to it. There might be some other factors that pushed it back as well for them, such as the fear that people might not be in a buying mood in the hospitality industry as well in May. Anthony, you were going to say something?
And I do agree with that. I don't think it's going to be April or May. I think it's going to be fourth quarter. But you're going to see a lot of business. And I think people are going to realize that and are going to want to get in now when people are feeling us revenue managers and owners, we're feeling a little weak. So our rates are still a little weak. So we're a little concerned. So maybe they can get a good deal. So once January opens up, I think you're going to start seeing that people are going to rush and try to get a good deal now, because if they wait until April or May or even February, March, I think our rates are going to go up and they're going to see that. So I agree it's going to be third, fourth quarter. Yesterday we were with the marketing VP of Live, and he said that he will not see his auditorium open until the third or fourth quarter, and people will be vaccinated and will have a negative COVID test. So,
and Anthony, let me add to that what you just said. According to Billboard magazine and an article I read just this morning, Ticketmaster is looking to implement a COVID-proof kind of scenario. Stuff that Anthony and I have discussed on the show about what Las Vegas is hoping to do with meetings and events. You go, you get your test, you use either the Clear Health Pass, the CVS plan that's going on there. You just flash, hey, I'm COVID safe, and you can get into that group event. So there's a number of things that are happening that might affect those numbers in 2021. It's still pretty fuzzy, but I got to ask you, David, one thing that's not fuzzy is your web traffic scenarios. Yeah. Let's go to the next slide over here. What are we looking at, sir? And again, if you could say some of those numbers so our audio only audience could follow along too.
Yeah. So just, I guess the important numbers are really, and I apologize, I can't see it on your screen because of the way you got it.
Sorry, you want to borrow my glasses?
I have my own. I have my own. I'll speak to it regardless. So, I think one of the important things that we're seeing here is that web traffic. Now, again, this is on the brand.com site. So the web traffic we're seeing is really strong, right? So what does that tell you? That tells you that the intent is really strong. And so people are very interested in travel. So to your point earlier about next year and what you think is going to happen with business travel and events, I actually think, and this is what gets me out of bed every day and gets me so excited about our business, I think that this is such a resilient industry. So while we're going through all this, people are thinking about travel. They're shopping on our customers' websites. They're looking at different dates. The issue that we have right now is even in these shorter term windows that we're talking about, a month out or so, that shorter term window, 75% of the traffic that's coming to the brand.com site is not converting. And as you go further out, 80% of that traffic is not converting. So that could be for a variety of reasons, but what does that tell us? That tells us,
David, could you also add some context? What would be under normal circumstances that conversion rate?
Yeah, and I think that's going to vary by site in terms of the sophistication of the people that are running marketing and running kind of the different promotions. But you would expect with traffic to go with that traffic that high, you would expect to see conversion rates much higher than that, especially with the level of interest and the level of intent. I mean, people are typing in dates, they're looking at travel dates, they're just not converting those. So what does that really mean? And because of my e-commerce background and thinking about kind of what would help the hotels with taking advantage of that interest, the biggest thing, and we were just talking about it, is safety marketing, helping people feel safe. There was just a report out from Majid that referenced in their survey that people actually feel pretty strongly that the hotels themselves are safe. And that the hotels are doing a good job. The bigger concern that came up in the survey was the concern about other guests and whether they're following the rules.
That's right.
And I think there's a lot that hotels can do to message that and to market that. And then I think the other thing, again, we wouldn't want to advise people to do a race to the bottom, but putting more compelling promotions. That doesn't always mean price. That can mean other things as well. You're talking about the benefits of the property itself. But I think that's the opportunity for hotels right now in this extraordinary time. It's really getting creative with those offers and how they talk to the guests that are visiting the site.
Right, excellent. I do want to say we've had Rick Garlick of Maggot on our show before, so go to novacancynews.com and check our database of shows for those shows and all of the other ones that are help keeping you educated and informed. So, Chris, what does all of this mean to you in the context of you trying to get hoteliers to convert, guests to convert from looking to booking?
Well, I mean, David covered it pretty well. I mean, right now, the problem is they can't convert. They can dream, and the dream phase is going on like crazy. I don't know about you guys, but I know my wife is constantly dreaming about the next trip, and we just can't convert. I mean, we're searching all the time. So I think that's reflective of what you're seeing in David's stats. And we also see on Google Analytics platforms that we look at, web analytics that we look at on our websites. There's a lot of intent to travel. I think last week we talked to the team. You had the team on from American Express, I think, or it was one of the other companies. But the intent to travel is super high. Everybody wants to go. We just can't go right now. And so I think other than being very compelling, and quite frankly, David hit on the head, it's not pricing that you need to worry about. It's how is your hotel the one and only choice in that marketplace to maintain guests or to house guests for that night? Why is it the safest, the cleanest, where people can go? Because that, if they are going to make a choice to travel, that's where they're going to go, is to the safest place right now.
Yeah. And so what you have to do right now, you're going to remember that hotel when you come out of it. Like I've traveled now.
Yep.
I've been in 6 hotels in the last 9 months. And I will tell you, I have a top maybe 4, and there's 2 that were good, but I don't think that they really overdid the safety aspect of it. And I'm probably going to remember that and say, you know what, I'd rather use this other hotel in the market because they really doubled down on my safety, and I remembered that. So it's a good point. And I think it's really important to understand that people do want to travel, but it's not anything, Sunday night business, we can all relate to this, right? Sunday night business in a big city is throwing bad money after bad money. So you are not getting a corporate traveler to come in on a Sunday night because you're giving them a $5 discount. You're not doing it. They'd rather come in Monday morning to spend Sunday night with their kids and their wife. And so many markets we've been in, we're throwing bad money after bad money to get people to travel on Sunday night. It doesn't work, right? Same thing. Right now, if you're going to spend a lot of money to market to people that aren't going to come, you're wasting your money. People are not going to book right now. That 80% is going to stay there for a while until we get past the next phase of this virus. And I think that that's just as important to understand, that to make it look pretty, to talk about it, to keep the communication going, to have the social media out there, to keep me in your brain. Make sure they're coming on 4 times a week, 5 times a week. I don't care. Let them always come and have it 90% not convert, but have that in the forefront of their mind. So when they are ready to convert, and what happens in our industry, if we can't make money today, we forget about it, and we're not doubling down on just getting in front of people. And right now, you just got to take the long view. And if you don't, your competition will.
Right. Great point, Anthony. Yeah, sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
No, it's one of my favorite topics, Anthony, is Sunday night arrivals. We could talk for hours about Sunday night arrivals, but it's good stuff.
My attitude is, I say charge more for Sunday night arrivals, because those are the people that are looking to get away from their spouse and their kids. So they're going to pay that fee just so they could get away.
Try that. See how that works. Go ahead.
I just, if you want, just say, hey, I've got a very important breakfast meeting that I have to be at Monday morning, so I got to go. So that's how you get the excuse.
One of my favorite things to do on the show, because Glenn's so smart and he knows a lot more people than I do. But I love when I can talk to a hotel nerd like Chris, and he understands exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, it's the best. And I feel like so out of it when you guys have these conversations, because I'm a guy that has no property-based experience whatsoever. So I love learning from you guys when it comes to this. So Chris, what are you and your revenue managers focused on right now in order to keep people booking rooms, even as we seem to be entering a darker period of this particular crisis?
Well, there's only so much demand. But it's making sure that you have an offering for every piece of demand that's out there. That's what the team does. That's what David's team does, is making sure that you're positioned properly. And really, the star data is out the window right now. It's about capturing every single room in your marketplace. We've basically tossed the share goals out and said, listen, we need to capture every available room in our marketplace. How do we do that? And I know that's an unrealistic goal, but when you set goals like that and you miss them, you have great success. So listen, you just need to understand who's traveling, what they're traveling for, and then how to talk to that offering specifically to make sure they book. What's their needs? Is it Smurf travel, government travel, individual travel? Whatever it is, you got to make sure your offering is so crisp to that segment that conversion is just not an option. They're going to choose you. And that's all you can do right now, I believe.
Right. David, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think, this is some of the things that we're dealing with now are unprecedented. So, whether you're using a system like what, Chris and his team have built, or something like what we have, your ability to capitalize on the changing environment is going to be really important. Automating what you can is important, but also having that hands-on know-how that we were talking about earlier is critical. But, every one of these guests is really a jump ball. So being able to market effectively to them, present them with relevant offers, present them with promotions that is going to, help them convert from shopping to actually buying is really critical. And making sure, of course, that all comes down to the guest experience and making sure that guest experience is first rate.
Our incredible producer, David, just asked a really good question in the private chat, and I think it's really an important question. What have you done, what have you been able to do as an outside company to keep the relationship with the owners and hotels during these times? And I think that is a question for all vendors out there. And I know there's Zoom calls out the wazoo talking about that. What has your company been doing to keep that relationship, even if you're not converting to a sale?
Well, yeah, I mean, in our industry, relationships are everything. And so, in spite of the fact that we're not traveling as much as we were, for me personally, I'm on the phone or on Zoom type calls every day with customers and potential customers I have a sales background, so I'm naturally going to be inclined to want to talk to people. And you have to be pragmatic, right? You don't get to choose the environment you work in. You do get to choose how you react. And that's kind of my operating philosophy. And so I want to hear from our customers. Our customers are going through some difficult times. This is not an easy environment. So we're talking to them. We're working with them. We're trying to figure out how to help them with strategies that are going to help them execute. And we'll continue to do that. And as soon as it's time to get on planes and travel again and go overseas, a big part of our business is in Europe. Almost half of our business is in Europe. My plan is to be there as quickly as I can. So, frankly, it's just part of the business. We've got to find ways to communicate with people. And we really come from a position of partnership, right? So we talk about vendor relationships, but really it's a partnership. And when you have a partnership, that requires constant communication, and sometimes those conversations are difficult, but we're really trying to add value with our teams. It's not just me. We have a great customer success team that is in touch with our customers every single day. And we really invested heavily to make sure that we're there for our customers right now.
Chris?
He nailed it. And you know our philosophy. We're in this for the long haul. So, we kept our 100% of our corporate team together so we could push through this for our clients, whether revenue was coming in or not. We just believe that's the right strategy. And we're going to leverage everything that we have known about past distress periods and distress turnarounds and put that out to the marketplace to push forward. I mean, you either are committed to this business or you're not, and you come from a place of strategy and support for your clients and integrity, which is one of our hallmarks. Or you're just here to get in and get out. And we've seen some of that over the past 9 years with the rapid growth of the industry, but not our organization. And then, so we're here for you. We're here for our client partners. We're here for the industry, and we're here for the greater good. So that's our business philosophy. And if it turns out to be a profitable one, which it does, then good. But right now it's about doing the right things for your people that you're involved with.
Yeah, I think that what you said is so critically important. You don't choose the environment that you work in.
I agree.
Your reaction to the environment. Now take that, right, and just take that big statement and separate it from our industry, okay? Separate it from COVID, separate it from this moment. That should be on everybody's forehead, okay? Whether it be graduating college, whether it be transitioning to another job, whether it be getting married or whatever it is, it's the environment that you see yourself in is the environment you have to react to. And in the military, there is no better example than the military. We train and we train and we train. That's all we do is train. We're the most trained people in the world. And all of a sudden you get orders and you're like, you're going somewhere we can't tell you about. And then they drop you. Again, not me, because I was protocol officer. I poured coffee. That was the most dangerous thing I ever did. But they drop you, behind enemy lines, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, go. Now you're reacting to the environment which you're in. And I think that is so critically important so I don't want to just go through that statement. That is a statement for life. And if you don't get that, you're probably not going to be successful.
Right.
Well,
yeah, go on, Chris. Sorry.
No. I mean, David, I loved it when he said it. I mean, that resonated with me. I don't have a pen right here by me, or I was going to write it down, but I think we'll hear it from you later. But I mean, that's what hotels are about. I mean, if you've ever been at a high volume hotel on a busy Saturday night, or any business, and the leaders are calm and collected, they're reacting to whatever's going on, but it's how they're reacting and how they're leading their team. Because I believe me, how the leader reacts, so goes the team. You know that, Anthony, right? If you're calm and cool when things are burning down around you, then the team is going to be calm and cool.
So, Chris, let me ask you a question. And again, you're the smartest person in the world, so you know the answer. Why, when you're in a big hotel and there's 800 check-ins and 800 checkouts on a Sunday, does the property management system, the fire alarm, and the basement flood all at the same time? Why is that? And why does your director of housekeeping and 16 housekeepers call out on Sunday morning all at once? And you probably stub your toe and have to go to the hospital because you have a broken toe. Why is that all happen at once?
That's so simple. It's because this wouldn't be any fun if it didn't happen that way, Anthony. Who wants everything to go perfectly? I mean, that would be boring. That's why I love what we do. I remember standing on the pool deck at a big resort I ran in Florida when we had 2,000 guests and 500 check-ins and 4 restaurants going and people going everywhere and a person that stubbed their toe and cut their foot. And I was just smiling because I love this business. I mean, where else do you get this many people together having a great time, even if it's tough? And then what's best, Anthony, and you know this, is when you get your team rallied, I call it making magic. and the magic happens. You just push through that hard thing and nobody knows. No guest is affected.
The good news is on that Sunday morning, Duetto works, right, David?
It does work.
All right, so one more topic I want to bring up, and this is brought to us by Scott Long from Go Moment. Low occupancy means offer room upgrades, extend stay offers, late checkout, all of these things. He suggests automating them. I think that's an important thing that we forget. In the last downturn, everyone was so focused on racing to the bottom with price that they forgot maybe it's all about adding value, which is easier then to take away than trying to push back up those rates from when you're down in the cellar. How do you gentlemen react to that, David?
Yeah. So I mean, just listening to some of your recent guests, you had was it Hotel Zena, I think. Kind of think about like that.
Washington D.C. on Monday. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So think about the story that goes along with. Now, not every hotel can tell that story, right? It's very unique. But if you've got all these people that are shopping and looking, and there's intent to travel, it's how can you message to people so that they really see the value of your property? What are they going to get? Are there amenities around in the local area that they can take advantage of? Are there things about your hotel that are really unique and valuable? And I think that's what it really comes down to. So yeah, I agree with automating. I've talked about it. I've kind of been a bit of a broken record on that. So I think everyone understands that it's a core piece of our technology. But I think it's in conjunction with, really thinking about what is going to be compelling to that guest when they're looking at your hotel. And would an upgrade be compelling? I would imagine yes. Would offering them an additional stay a night to their visit, would that be compelling? I think all these things are things that go into creative promotions and offers for the guest.
Excellent, Chris.
I mean, I love Go Moment, great company, great offering. Everything you can do to improve the stay right now. But it goes back to the point where I think the most savvy owners and the most savvy hoteliers are investing through this pandemic because, listen, we're going to come back. We are coming back. Anthony already said we're going to be busy next fall with group. We're coming back. People love to travel. You can see that through the intent. I mean, it is hard because cash flow is brutally tight right now. But don't you want to come out the other side? It's just like renovating your property and doing your PIP. If you have a slow period, you don't renovate. I mean, you renovate while it's slow, and that's a little more painful because you're spending the capital dollars when it's slow. But then you come out ready to go when things are ready. And I know for one, I want to be ready when things come out hot.
And I think what's really important right now, and it's probably for all of us and everybody listening, is we're going into the winter and we're seeing the numbers spike and we're transitioning, in Washington. So a lot's going on. So I beg everyone to take a moment and reset. You got to reset. I'm doing it myself, my family, my kids are coming home from college, and I'm preparing everybody to be in this house again for the next 2 or 3 months when they all just want to go. And so I think right now we need a mindset reset that we're going to come out of this, but we expect it to be out of it already. So if you're not recognizing that, and emotionally and mentally, then you are going to have a very dark 6, 7, 8 weeks. And again, I think that is critically important, whether you're running a hotel, you're running your family, or any business you're doing. We've got to acknowledge that, oh my God, this is still going on. The numbers are still going up. We're getting shut down again. And if you're not mentally prepared for that, that's a problem.
Yep, a great way to put it. And to be fair, we were told early on that this exact thing would happen. So we shouldn't be surprised by it. We should just be prepared for what's going to be happening in the next couple of months. David, we're just about out of time. Any final thoughts from you? And of course, give another shameless plug for your Pulse Report.
Yeah, I know I will do that. So I mean, a couple of things for me. One, you think about what we're talking about, and you guys have done a really nice job of this, but the people who are on the front lines of the hotels are doing, really important work and have been very brave through this whole process. So I know you guys talk about that a lot, but I think that's something that's very inspiring to me in our industry and more generally. And that, overall in our industry, there's been a lot of pain. And so, it's hard to talk about the success we're having without acknowledging that. But I do believe we're going to get through this. And I think we are going to have some bumps in the road, but we are absolutely going to come out of this because you can just absolutely see the resilience of the industry and the interest in travel. And the last thing I would say is that I agree with Chris. Now is the time to invest. in technology, because when we do come out of this, you want to be able to execute like crazy, and systems like Duetto offer really allow hoteliers to take advantage of the new environment that we're working in, not only today, but what I believe will be a very strong future for the industry. So I really appreciate you guys allowing me to participate today. And if you are interested in talking to us, it's info@duettocloud.com. And then there's duettocloud.com/sign up for the Pulse report. So I'm sure that we can put some notes for you guys if you want to share that with your audience.
Absolutely beautiful. And yes, Anthony, sorry, go on.
That's okay. David, please put your cell number in private chat so I can get in touch with you. I may have something for you.
Right.
All right.
And David, we'd love to be able to share your information going forward if you send us some stuff. And what a wonderfully executed plug you did there. I'm very impressed. One of the best we've seen so far. Chris Green, can you top it?
He's a pro, and I'm glad to meet you, David, on this call. I'm going to take my little short time here and say to our government to get busy and get some stimulus going for hospitality, restaurant, airlines, travel industry. I mean, it's brutal. I've still got 60% of my workforce laid off. I want them back working. They need help. We need help. I can tell you that cash flows are only going to get worse through the winter, and something has to happen. So please.
Well, it's going to happen. It's 100% going to happen. Again, we're going to get some kind of stimulus. It is going to happen. Small businesses will be taken care of. Individuals will be taken care of. It's just a matter of they want to put us through hell and stress, but it will happen.
Well, I'm making this plea on the behalf of our team members, Chesapeake's, and the 3.5 million people that are still out of work in the hospitality industry that want to get back to the business they love. I mean, it's just brutal on them. So please, whatever it takes, get to it.
It's like I'm just taking a picture of your number so I can put it in my phone. But it's like, having kids, right? They put you through hell, and then when they're about 21 years old, it's like, oh, okay, I did get what I wanted. They're all successful. They're all doing okay. So,
yeah.
Listen, the future is bright. We just got to get ready for what's coming, and we're going to be fine. And the great thing is, shows like this and other shows are bringing together leaders of this industry that, like Chris and David, would have maybe not met. And if you met, you probably would meet at some kind of convention that you probably spent 3 seconds with each other. If anything, we got to look at this as positive, that we're all getting to know each other on a real level.
Absolutely.
Yep. No drive-by hellos on this show at all. And I do want to let all of you out there and remind you that on Monday of this past week, we did a special show with Chip Rogers, the president and CEO of AHLA, live from Washington, D.C. He flew in from Georgia, where he lives, came straight to do our show, and we talked all about what's going on with government stimulus, what he believes is going to happen on Capitol Hill in the short term during this transitional period, and what his beliefs are for the future success of getting stimulus packages fulfilled in the future. So be sure to check that out. Go check it out again at novacancynews.com, on YouTube, our LinkedIn feeds, our Facebook feeds, all of that kind of good stuff. Guys, I want to thank you so much for being here. What a great experience it was having you on today talking about revenue management.
Thank you
very much, gentlemen.
And thank you guys for having me, and thank you for your continued interest in Duetto.
Wait, we got breaking news.
Chris.
Breaking news. I think Anthony has one more question before we let you guys go. Is that the true, Anthony?
It was actually, I was going to say it after the gentleman left. But so you're telling me on Monday, after the election, after President-elect Biden was basically selected, we were literally 3 minutes away from the White House, and we had the most important person in the hospitality industry live on our show in Washington, D.C. Is that the kind of show we've become, Glenn?
That's awesome.
That is the kind of show we've become. Although with today's guests, I think who knows? But just kidding. You guys are the best. But we are so proud and honored to have so many great people come. Also, check out our database of shows. Just a few days earlier, we had Cecil Staten on right after the election. I think it was last Thursday that we hit him on. He's the president and CEO of AHOA, so go check out the interview we did with him there. Lots more great interviews coming in the next number of months as we go forward. Gentlemen, thanks again so much for being here. We really appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
And tomorrow, who do we have on tomorrow? And then I want to talk about a guest that we're working on, and I'm just going to throw it out there because I'm so excited about this guest. But go ahead, Glenn.
All right, tomorrow, special show, 2 p.m. We will be running a best show at 12, just so you don't get all worried. But at 2 p.m., we've got Dr. Osterholm on. He is one of the leading infectious disease specialists up there. He's like the non-governmental Dr. Fauci, but soon he's going to be part of Biden's task force on COVID solutions here. So I'm very excited to have him back on and to learn about what is real, what is fake when it comes to going forward, and how we're going to be able to get past this. Anthony, who we got coming on soon?
Well, I won't say his name because it hasn't been confirmed. I spoke to him this morning, but I want to make sure we have a date and then get his permission to announce his name. But a very famous chef that is a Michelin star chef that I actually had a chance to work with back in my Plaza days. And he is now working for a major, one of the biggest hospital companies in the world, and bringing really world-class food to the hospital environment. And what does that mean? It means two things for me. One, now people, when they go to the hospital, they'll have real nutritious, real food. And two, it's another opportunity for people in the hospitality industry to see that the hospital industry is the hospitality industry too. When you get a name like this gentleman working for one of the major hospitals in the country, and they have over 20 hospitals, they have somebody at that level saying food is important in the hotel industry. I'm sorry, in the hospital industry. It is hopefully giving a little bit of light to people, chefs and food and beverage people and maybe catering people, to know that there are other opportunities, not only in the hotel business, but also in the hospital business. I was really excited to get in touch with him after all these years. I remember him. He's the standard that I measure all hotel chefs by. He didn't remember who the hell I was, but that doesn't matter.
That's all right. You are who I measure all hoteliers by, and I remember who you are. So we got that. We got that for us. I want to thank the lovely Jennifer Peterson for giving us the great picture today of the Hotel Vandevort in Springfield, Missouri. Let's take one more look at it. Beautiful property, the only 4-diamond place in the entire city. Be sure to check that out when you can. So thank you, Jennifer, for sending that out. If you all want to send us a picture and have your hotel featured, drop me a line, glenn@rouse.media. That's GLENN, 2 N's. Otherwise, you won't find me. Thank you so much. Anthony, any final thoughts before we do our official wrap-up over here?
Thursday, today, 3 o'clock, Jeremy Pinkerton, me, Hospitality Success, going behind the scenes of one of my favorite shows. Which show? I can't tell you. You got to tune in 3 o'clock, Facebook Live.
That's right. Go check Anthony's page on Facebook Live, like it, and you'll get notified every single time. We go live at noon, and when he goes live, Thursday at 3. Also subscribe to our newsletter. Text the word hotel to 66866. Follow us on No Vacancy News, like Facebook pages, follow us on LinkedIn, and all that kind of good stuff. We couldn't be here without you, and we thank you for your support and continued confidence in bringing you the terrific news that you need to hear to empower, entertain, and hopefully, give you some keys to success in the future. Anthony, thank you so much for another great show today. Those guests were absolutely great. And remember, everybody, you've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.